Howdy.
Hello. Hey, we got more weather today.
Oh, good. Plenty of it.
I'm so happy.
You can have as much as you want today
Oh,
of weather.
Thank you.
So, perception, perspective, and we're kind of flowing into something a little more universal with this today.
We wanted to look today at sort of the basic pattern of life. It kind of goes like this. And this is how the universe has come to be as well. A birth, expansion, contraction, and death. And that is just the pattern, what is woven into the very existence. And so we've seen this with the universe. Big Bang birth, and it set off a huge, to this day, the universe is continuing to expand, becoming more complex,
It reminds me
more
of
diversified.
a choir anthem or something we sang years ago called Ode to an Expanding Universe or something.
Oh,
It was
very
kinda
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Any rate, but
And
it's-
scientists believe that there will come a point when the universe will begin to then contract,
hold
go
on,
back
yeah.
to nothingness, and so therefore, eventually, die, I guess,
To
or at least
and into the eternal being, and thus, I guess.
well,
So that
true.
means also you were telling me that as there's an expansion going on, there's also more complexity and more differentiation of things in life.
right.
In the universe, that's certainly
In the
true.
universe. And then you look at one's own life, the human life, and there is you're mysteriously born, boom, and then young life is about expansion and learning and becoming more multifaceted, really.
Going out there and discovering more and becoming more,
Becoming more,
expanding your
expanding
life.
your influence within the world, all that stuff.
Your
that
purpose
goes
is
on.
more external as you go along. Yeah, yeah, and it's out
Making
there.
sure you've got some kind of progeny project going on,
Yeah,
either
so-
children or nurturing the next generation in some way or another. So, and then you hit some point. Is it 70? I don't know. When your life begins to contract, and you become more internally focused. It's more, it's not about going out and proving yourself and all of that. It's that inner life that becomes more dominant.
Yeah, well, that strikes me. When Chuck Kinswater retired as the pastor at Lord of Life, he got into spiritual directing. It's exactly what you're talking about, and that's really a great thing for him.
Yeah.
To be doing that. I look at the expansion over years of my career and how I accumulated books and papers, for instance, that I saw as being useful in trainings and going to one thing after another and discovering, exploring, and trying a business. And we did that and had all sorts of experiences with that. And now as I've been throwing stuff away and getting rid of books, it's almost like, there's this like pulling back again. And the part of it is this like life review reflection on what does this mean? What is the purpose of all this been? And we're not going to get into that quite yet today. But I mean, the expansion of my life and then the pulling back, and it's all good. It's not like that's threatening. It's
No,
just
it's not.
different.
Well, just like built
Different
into
functions.
our just daily function. Then that's kind of the
Yeah.
life review. But just like the way that there's always expansion and contraction. Every breath we take is an expansion and a contraction. Every heartbeat, an expansion and a contraction. It's just built into life. You see the seasons, of seasons of growth, seasons of
Pulling back.
lying fallow,
Yeah.
those kinds of things. And this is not anything to be freaking out about. It is just a normal way that life goes.
Okay.
So when we look at the life around us or the people around us or whatever, to see that when they're growing and expanding and all that, our society tends to think that that's the only valid way to be.
Like the economies always should be expanding.
It should always be
Always
expanding.
expanding.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into how the world looks, from this angle of expansion, contraction in a little bit. But, as you think about us and our life in the world, each of us, it's not bad or good. It's just this is the natural pattern that's been made for life, right?
And once one sees that it's not that I am some separate entity detached from life, and therefore if I'm not in this expansion phase, then something's wrong. But to see that I am just part of this unified whole. And so as I, contract, I am just fulfilling my function as part of this unified whole.
You know what I think about as you say that? How Native American tribes have always been better than Anglos at honoring the elders in our midst and their wisdom. Kind of interesting. We saw the movie Little Big Man a few weeks ago, and it's like there's something about honoring that inward, the contraction phase of life by learning from it. Gathering wisdom. We gather wisdom, and maybe somebody wants it, maybe they don't.
I'm okay with that.
Well, here we are doing it.
But that's another nice thing about being a part of a community like Lord of Life, is that you're the young and the old and everybody on some different portion of that journey, and what a lovely thing that we can all love each other in the midst of that.
Yeah. Would you mind praying for us today?
Not at all. Dear God, as luck would have it, we really approve of how you've set up life.
Today, anyway.
This beautiful expansion and contraction pattern that just gives us everything and more. Will help us to be receptive to it, grateful for it. In the name of the Christ, amen.
Amen.
Bye.